It's Monday, the 5th of June, 2023. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Story number 1, the Reserve Bank is expected to lift rates tomorrow, taking the benchmark rate to beyond 4% and standard variable home loan rates to about 6.5%.
Now, it's not a foregone conclusion. There's still a chance the central bank won't move this month, but the consensus among market economists is that more rate rises are in the offing. 2 main reasons: inflation, still too high, not falling fast enough. We found out last week that inflation in the 12 months to the end of April was 6.8%, well above the bank's preferred target of 2 to 3%. Second reason, wages growth. Last week, the Fair Work Commission lifted the award rate for 2.4 million workers by 5.75%. The minimum award rate for 180,000 Australians went up 8.6%. We've already seen a 15% increase in aged care workers' pay. The Fair Work Commission will also influence plenty of other awards, so millions of other workers will get a decent hike as well. Problem with that is when you don't have productivity, that can contribute to inflation. Financial markets have priced in the likelihood of a 25 basis point increase this week. If they're right, then the rise in monthly mortgage repayments on a $750,000 loan since early last year is nearly $2,000.
All right, so expectations of a rise tomorrow. Did that hurt the housing market over the weekend at all, Sean?
In a word, no. Last week's auction clearance rate hit a new 18-month record, with Sydney again leading the way. The preliminary clearance rate across the nation was 77.2%. Buyers seemingly unperturbed about what's going to happen tomorrow. The Sydney clearance rate was almost 80%. Melbourne was just short of 76%. Brisbane, Adelaide and Canberra were all over 70%, according to CoreLogic. Remember, last week you found out that house prices in every capital city rose during May, and across the 5 capitals, prices were on average up 1.2%. Plenty of strength in the housing market, though the jury is still out on whether this will last.
Sean, on to story number 2. Australian universities have produced their worst financial results in history, with a combined $1.3 billion loss last financial year, and only 5 of the 29 that have reported their 2022 accounts being in surplus.
Experts put the result down to the COVID-19 pandemic, which had a dire impact on international student revenues in many universities, according to a report in the Financial Review. The pandemic also spurred on job redundancies and cost-cutting, which drove surpluses the previous year, but having shed an estimated 27,000 jobs in 2021, most unis were forced to rehire staff last year as campus life and in-person teaching resumed some level of normality. The University of Sydney was the only one of New South Wales' 10 universities in the black, though it made $300 million rather than the $1 billion it made the year before. In Victoria, La Trobe was the only one to post a surplus, a $38 million surplus in that instance. The Fin goes on to point out that 10 vice-chancellors earned $1 million plus salaries in 2022. The head of University of Melbourne, Duncan Maskell, he's the highest remunerated with a package of $1.5 million.
Sean, how about this one? In federal politics, the Greens have softened their demands over Labor's planned $10 billion housing future fund, saying they'll support the bill if it includes a rent freeze and at least $2.5 billion a year spent on new homes.
Now, it is a step closer, though the revised offer was pretty much rejected by the government yesterday, which pointed out that placing a halt on rental increases was a state and territory matter. Labor's pushing the Greens to back the government's housing fund, which would see some 30,000 new social and affordable homes built in the first 5 years, warning that without crossbench party support, low-income home seekers would get no relief from soaring rents and lack of supply. Appearing on ABC's Insiders yesterday's Greens housing spokesman Max Chandler-Mather said the $2.5 billion annual spending demand was still 5 times more than what the government's planned fund was likely to deliver.
Okay, story number 4, Sean, bad news for all those online shoppers like me who enjoy getting free or very cheap kind of shipping. Australia Post will lift its prices for a bunch of mostly business parcels and package delivery services by as much as 10%, blaming inflationary pressures and growing losses across its mail operations.
Business letters and domestic parcels prices will rise between 3.5% and 10%. There'll also be higher fees for manual handling of oversized and heavier mail and the security handling of some packages. The new and higher fees will be particularly costly for local smaller businesses that rely heavily on sending packages and parcels to customers and suppliers. Australia Post wrote to its business customers on Friday the changes will take effect on July 3.
Last one, story number 5. You know, it's a good week when we're starting off with an Elon Musk story on day one. He's retaken the title of world's wealthiest person, Sean, worth $199 billion, overtaking Bernard Arnault from luxury brand LVMH.
Yeah, so LVMH's share price has fallen about 10% since April. He now comes second on the list at $191 billion US. He first passed Musk in December last year. Basically, the tech industry was struggling, or the tech sector was struggling. Luxury was doing pretty well. That's flipped around. Third on the list is Amazon's Jeff Bezos. He's worth about $148 billion US. Then Microsoft's Bill Gates, Oracle's Larry Ellison, Steve Ballmer, who was the chief executive officer of Microsoft, now owns the LA Clippers basketball team, and then investment guru Warren Buffett. Rounding out the top 10 are the Alphabet duo Larry Page and Sergey Brin, and Meta's Mark Zuckerberg.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Monday, the 5th of June, 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. If 5 minutes isn't enough for you, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.